Hello, my soul-seeking friends. It's Shanna. Thank you so much for listening to Sense of Soul podcast. Enlightening conversations with like-minded souls from around the world, sharing their journey of finding their light within, turning pain into purpose, and awakening to their true sense of soul. If you like what you hear, show me some love and rate, like, and subscribe. And consider becoming a Sense of Soul Patreon member, where you will get ad-free episodes, monthly circles, and much more. Now go grab your coffee, open your mind, heart, and soul. It's time to awaken. Today we have with us author Sandra Bellamy. She is a Blue Talk Amplify speaker and an asexuality coach. She sees herself as an ambassador for asexuality, which is an ongoing mission for her to get asexuality recognized throughout the globe. Sandra's joining us today to tell us about her new book, Asexual Perspectives. Sandra is so sweet and so passionate about this topic, and so I'm happy that I am able to provide this space for Sandra today.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm really excited for our interview.
You're so passionate. I just love that you're using your voice. Good for you. You're talking about something that not a lot of people talk about. You're very inspiring.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot to me. I love it. I got a message this morning from one of my YouTubers, and she's like, "Oh, I always love your videos." And it's really nice when I hear that.
Where are you joining us from?
I'm from the UK, so I live in a city called Exeter in Devon. I really like it here. It's a very vibrant city. I'm an extrovert, which is quite rare for an asexual person. Most asexuals are introverted, but I love being asexual, and being in the city is really nice. So I go clubbing and stuff, which not a lot of people who are asexual do, because obviously there's a lot of heterosexuals, a lot of sexual energy there and stuff like that. But yeah, so I live in Exeter by myself. I'm single. I don't like sex because I'm asexual, which is a sexual orientation that's a lack of sexual attraction. I'm personally a sex repulsed asexual for me. I like being single. I do still look for a romantic, ideally asexual male life partner, but I haven't found him yet. I don't want marriage though. I don't want kids, and I prefer to live on my own, even in a relationship. So I like a living apart together relationship, which means you live in separate places near each other, but not actually with each other. Therefore, I feel that you can have your own space. I find it very difficult to sleep in front of someone, very difficult to sleep in the same bed, partly because I get self-conscious. Another part is because I have fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain condition that affects the nerves and muscles of the body. So it's really difficult because I need personal space physically, because if anyone's near my pressure points, even if they're not directly on it, I can kind of feel that. And also I prefer not to take my clothes off because I'm nudity repulsed, which is quite rare for asexuals as well. So I prefer to keep my clothes on, even in a relationship, and kiss with my clothes on. I love kissing though. I'm a hyper romantic and a hyper kisser, which is very different to most of the entire world population, let alone asexuals. Most asexuals only like a tiny bit of kissing. And I do get really romantic, so I'm excessively romantic. So I self-date. So I was a speaker at the UK Asexuality conference in London in 2018, and I did a couple of talks. One was about how to arrange an asexual meetup, because I arranged them in my city and people come from different parts of the UK to it. And I also spoke about self-love and self-dating being the most, like, the best part, if you like, of dating and relationships is make sure you self-date and love yourself. And I put some pictures on the screen of how I self-date. Like, I go to theme parks and I go and take myself out to Nando's and I go to the cinema. And so I do whatever I would do in a romantic relationship, but with myself. Sometimes I kiss myself, even. I love kissing that much. So yeah, I do a YouTube show, as you know, which I talk about asexuality. I share my daily life usually on YouTube, on my Asexualise, my Asexual Life channel. So it's a bit like a reality TV show. And I've been doing that since 2015. It started off more as like just individual videos. And then in 2018, as part of Asexual Perspectives Awareness Month, which I founded in 2017, actually, 2018, I decided to go live every single day instead of just posting your videos. So in celebration of my book, which is to celebrate our diversity across the asexual spectrum and our differences within it. So I did this book because I got so many people in my inbox asking me different questions, like, what's it like to have a relationship with another asexual? What's it like to have a relationship with a sexual person? And all these questions are in this book, and all the answers are in the book, because I was answering them all the time in private message, and I thought, why not put a book out there where everyone can get access to the answers to the questions that they ask all the time, especially when they're new to asexuality. So this shows asexual, and it shows different asexual people all across the spectrum, and instead of just giving textbook definitions of asexuality and asexuals, it actually explores the lives of asexuals. Wow. And so it gives different perspectives. I know that your listeners who are listening on podcasts won't be able to see the book, but if they just type asexual perspectives into Amazon, for example, then they'll see it come up. It's like I got an orange and purple cover. And so, yeah, it pretty much answers every question they could possibly think of when they're new to asexuality, discovering the asexual spectrum. And there's 47 different stories, including my own, told in questions and answers that strategically thought about in order to answer all the questions that people have got. So it's really good because there's all different types, from pure asexuals to grey asexuals in this book.
You are really probably talking to people who may be experiencing this and they don't quite exactly know what they're experiencing. They didn't know it had a name. You know, I am against some of the labels, but unfortunately, the way to get certain awareness is through labels.
I'm actually a big fan of labels. I find that the only people that are uncomfortable with the labels of asexuals are the ones that are not comfortable with asexuality. Yeah. So no one seems uncomfortable with labeling themselves heterosexual. You never hear of someone saying, well, why are you labeling yourself as a heterosexual? I'm curious about that. But you can't really tell by looking at someone how they're feeling inside. So many people might just assume that you're heterosexual, which is not necessarily the case. And people are speaking up about that. But I have to know when you figured this out and how you did. Okay, so I didn't discover I'm asexual till 2014. And I was in heterosexuals nearly half of my life, I would say. So at 16, which is when I had my first boyfriend in terms of who I felt I loved, and he asked me, or rather pressurized me, into sex for the first time ever in my life. I didn't have self-love back then. My self-love journey didn't start until 2012, actually. So back then I lacked self-love. So at 16, he pressured me to have sex because he said all his friends were doing it and that's what he wanted. And I felt that I would lose him if I didn't do that. So I obliged him, but he was very gentle, which I was really appreciative of. Did your mom and dad ever talk to you about sex? No, they felt that school should do that. And the only education, this is really important actually, the only education I had at school was a video in biology. I've got to laugh at this. It's not funny because this is the state of the situation, but this was my sex education. There was a woman dressed as an egg and a guy dressed as a sperm. And this is a really old-fashioned video, VHS tape, and they were swimming towards each other, and the woman was singing, "One day my sperm will come." No way. "One day my sperm will come." That was my sex ed. Yeah, I'm being serious because it sticks in my mind. That was my sex education at school, a biology lesson, and that was it. So I didn't have any sex education at school apart from that. And yeah, I wasn't interested in sex. Like, even though I had it, even at 16, he pressurized me into it and I would rather have not bothered. But you know, I did it to keep the relationship, I guess. And because I didn't know any different, I just thought that's what you normally do in a relationship. That's what a guy wants. So I had to do that. And one of the major reasons why I wrote Asexual Guide to Sex is because I wish I'd had that book, the book I'm writing at 16 years old. And some people are like, well, it's so big, why don't you split it up? And I am thinking about actually, because there's asexual sex stories in the book, I'm thinking about maybe doing a smaller book with the stories, same stories in it. So just for people who don't want the whole guide to sex, I'm thinking, but I don't know if Amazon would allow that. But the reason I've done it the way I've done it is because I want all the safety aspects and the consent in there and assertiveness and boundaries, which is what I didn't know when I was a kid. well, and when I was 16, you know, I didn't know all this. So I want to save people pain and heartache. I want to help prevent sexual abuse situations. And so that is why I'm making this comprehensive like reference book that can sit by a person's bedside for life and they can pick it up and refer to it. And it's like all the stuff I've been learning over the years about relationships, dating, healthy relationships, attachment styles, avoidant attachment, you know, anxious attachment. I haven't put everything in there about all these attachment styles because it is an asexual guide to sex. It would just go on forever. I could go on forever with it.
All of those things are very important for anybody, you know, boundaries.
Yeah. So I want people who, whatever sexuality they are, to buy the Asexual Guide to Sex, like virgins, people who are inexperienced, their education was missing, like mine, because even though I'm asexual, I've had sex. So I feel I'm really best placed for my mission. So I haven't really revealed my mission yet, but my mission is to get asexuality recognized as a sexual orientation in its own right throughout the globe, so that no asexual has to live in fear of ridicule ever again. So it's a spiritual mission, actually, which obviously is very relevant to your podcast. And so I believe I was given this mission by God and the universe. And I'm the one that's selected specifically to get it recognized in its own right. So most people who know asexuality are in the LGBT plus community, because LGBT plus QIA, the A stands for asexual. Some people say it stands for agender, androgynous, aromantic. Some people pronounce that aromantic, and some people think it's allies, but it's quite well known for asexuality. And that's all very good and well, because there's a lot of people who are asexual that feel left out in the bigger, wider world because we don't experience sexual attraction. The main, it's a lack of sexual attraction, but there's a spectrum from pure asexuals to grey asexuals, which I haven't gone into yet. But basically, it's based on a lack of sexual attraction, whereas lesbians, gays, bisexuals are still experiencing sexual attraction, the normal sexual attraction, unless they're an asexual who identifies as gay, bisexual as well. But in the main, lesbians, gays, bisexuals, they all experience sexual attraction, whereas asexuality is based on a lack of sexual attraction. So it's kind of different in that respect. And it's my personal mission to get it recognized in its own right. I'm not taking away from LGBT community, you know, because asexuality is part of the acronym, whatever my thoughts, feelings, or other people are about it. But it's my mission to get it recognized individually, because it is very different, because it is based on lack of sexual attraction. There are genuine people out there who don't have any need, like want or urge for sex whatsoever, which would be the asexuals usually, who are the pure asexuals. And there are grey asexuals that do have sex. There are grey asexuals that are sex positive. There are asexuals in general that, you know, they can't choose whether they're asexual or not, but they can choose to have sex or not. And there's quite a lot of sex repulsed asexuals out there. So some are having sex, some aren't having sex. So it's a myth that not every asexual is the same. No, people think that every asexual doesn't have sex, or, you know, they don't want a relationship, which isn't true. So there's a lot of myths and stereotypes out there. But my mission to get it recognized individually is because I want to stop as many sexual abuse situations as possible and prevent as many as possible by getting it recognized that there are people out there that genuinely don't want, like, or need sex, and it's okay to feel that way. And the more heterosexuals accept this on dating apps and dating sites and who know about it, the more they can stop putting on people is natural for everyone. Everyone likes sex, and the expectation of sex on dates and in a relationship all the time, it needs to stop. People should be asking, like, what sexual orientation are you? Do you know what I mean? There should be a lot more open, honest discussion. I just feel it's important for me to get it recognized individually, and that's my mission spiritually.
Aside from, you know, sex, a relationship also is important, like oxytocin. We need oxytocin to survive. And that oxytocin is relationship. That's love, that's kissing. But it's also just doing what you and I are doing right now, talking and having conversations and just being with other people. So I'm guessing this is part of the reason why you speak out, is because you still want to be in community, be in relationships.
So some asexuals, they don't ever want a relationship. They want friends, yeah, not a romantic relationship. Some asexuals don't experience romantic attraction or sexual attraction. Some asexuals, they prefer having a friendship to having a romantic relationship. Some have queer platonic relationships, and some, they just literally their friends are everything to them, and they have deep friendships. In terms of asexuality, there's more people that aren't romantic than romantic. So I'm a romantic asexual. There's less people available for me. I'm only interested in guys, so there's less guys usually that are asexual, and there's less romantics among asexuals. So for me to try and find a guy who's romantic, who likes kissing a lot, because a lot of asexuals don't like much kissing, it's kind of hard. And I found out in 2014 I found out I was asexual. So my last long-term relationship was 2011. So I've got to skip now. If I skip to 2011, I did have good sex with him. So people are shocked. They're like, you're asexual because you've had bad sex. I'm like, no. And I had a good sexual experience with him. I'd rather have not have bothered. I'd rather not have it. And I didn't think, oh, I really want sex with you now. But he liked that. I've never had an orgasm in my life. I don't really understand what that is. And I was paranoid about getting pregnant because I've never wanted children since I was 15 years old. I knew I never wanted kids. And I used to be getting pregnancy test kits just to check I wasn't pregnant. I was on a birth control pill, but he used to like to do it naturally. And so I had irritable bowel syndrome, and I have actually got generalized anxiety disorder, which is a condition as well. And so I used to get worried about being pregnant. So yeah, I found out as asexual. I think it's important to say this because in 2013, so I split up with my long-term ex in 2014. Took me 18 months to 2 years to fully get over it. In that time, I reprogrammed my mind to be happy being single using neuro-linguistic programming when I did a life coaching course with the Coaching Academy in the UK. I've also reprogrammed my mind to be like 21 years old using NLP as well. So that's like the mindset and life I live, and teenager life actually. So I'm not interested in my birth certificate age at all. And I actually like younger foreign guys in their early to mid 20s, particularly in Indian. So I like coloured skin. I think it's gorgeous and beautiful. And that's actually, Indians are my type, but it's very difficult because they want marriage usually at least. So 2011, split up, took a year, forced myself to be single because I was dependent. I was codependent back then. I was dependent on a guy. I'd always been in relationships the majority of my life, but it wasn't until nearly a year later I started actually having a first date, if you know what I mean. And then in 2013, I was in a relationship with a Bangladeshi guy, 23 years old, really hot aesthetically. So some asexuals don't use this terminology, but I found him aesthetically hot, really super attractive, and we were kissing on my bed. But then he wanted to have sex, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. My mind, my being, my soul just wouldn't allow it. And that's when I realized I was different, and I just couldn't. However much I found him asexually attractive, even if my body pounds, because I do experience arousal, but no sexual attraction, because they're two different things. But I didn't realize that at the time. And then within 3 weeks, he cheated on me. So that was the end of that relationship. And then after that, I need to fast forward to 2014, because that's when I discovered I'm asexual. And I went to see a counsellor, and NHS counsellor in the UK, so professional counsellor. And I told her that I can't bring myself to have sex anymore, that the expectation of the sex at the end of the night when I'm dating is making me almost want to wet myself because I'm so anxious about it. And I love kissing and romance, but I don't like sex, and I'm worried about it because I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm going to be alone forever, basically. And she said, absolutely the worst thing that I could have possibly been told. So she said that I'm going to have sex in order to keep a good guy. And I was absolutely horrified. Like, I went home after that and Googled, I love kissing, but not sex. And that's how I discovered I'm asexual. Because I thought no one should be told they have to have sex in order to keep a good guy. That's like a license to rape me, because it's something I don't want to do and I don't like it. And it's basically saying you cannot get love and you cannot have a relationship unless you have sex. And it was awful. And I went back to her and told her I think I'm asexual, and she wouldn't look it up. She said, oh, the NHS computers won't let us look up such a thing. And I said, well, you could have looked it up at home. And she just didn't want to know. She wasn't interested. And so basically, the last session I had with her, I was really in floods of tears. It was a shock, like I'm something different to what I thought I was for years, because I thought I was heterosexual, and I felt like I needed some help and guidance, but she clearly wasn't the person to give it to me. And then that's went more into asexuality.org, because that's how I found the biggest online community for asexuals when I Googled I love kissing but not sex, and discovered there are people like me who want a romantic relationship without sex.
Wow.
And so that was in 2014. By 2015, January 2015, I was started my asexual meetups. And then October 2015, I started doing my asexual channel, and I couldn't talk about sex back then. I was so shy. I used to be a shy, quiet girl at school, actually, introverted. And I couldn't talk about sex at all. I was so shy. I was so reserved. And in 2012, I couldn't even be on social media. Like, I was so panicky about being social media, but I knew if I wanted to make my mark in the world, I'd have to be on social media. And then in 2015, I'm like, you're going to have to talk about sex, Daniel, because it's going to crop up with asexuals. And I was shy. I would only talk about it with a boyfriend, not my parents, not even the best girlfriend or anyone. And then I'm thinking, you can't take it to the grave with you. Like, if you take it to the grave with you, it's going to help no one, this information. So you need to come out, break through your anxiety barriers, and break through your asexual barriers.
My goodness. Like, you found other people that were like, yeah, I'm like that too. And then you knew there was probably other people out there that felt the same. And you've reached out to them, you've wrote a book for them, you've created a community for them and this meetup group. So how successful have you been with actually connecting with other people?
Right, this is very interesting. So on my channel, I cover asexual life, love, dating, relationships, friendship. And like I said, since 2018, it's like a reality TV show. So all the viewers come on my journey with me, the ups and the downs. I've had over 600,000 views on my channel, so over 500,000 and growing. And I run 6 asexual groups on Facebook, 3 asexual Facebook pages. I've got asexualise.com is my website. And yeah, so currently I'm on Facebook dating, and I'm on Badoo. Now, badoo.com has got a category for asexuals.
Wow.
So it's good, but you cannot filter looking for asexual. So you can say you're asexual in sexual orientation, but when it comes up with the filters, they've got like bisexual, gay, lesbian, open-minded, heterosexual, but they haven't got asexual. And I'm like, that's disappointing. So far, I've only come across 7 guys who are on the asexual spectrum there, and none of them are suitable for me. Facebook dating, I haven't come across one genuine asexual guy that I know of yet. Some of them lie, unfortunately. So I've been looking for my Indian soulmate since 2014. I'm like, where is he?
You mentioned a gray asexual.
Oh, yes, I need to explain that. Thank you. So the asexuality is a sexual orientation that's a lack of sexual attraction, but it's also a spectrum of identities within the asexuality spectrum umbrella.
Okay.
So I'm going to try and simplify this as much as possible. So if we simplify it into 2 categories of asexual, the pure asexuals and the grey asexuals, the pure asexuals don't experience any sexual attraction whatsoever, meaning they don't look at someone and get the need, urge, or want for partnered sexual intercourse. They don't look at someone and think, I want sex with you. So it's complete lack of sexual attraction. The grey asexuals, on the other hand, which is its own spectrum under the asexual spectrum, and some people who are under the grey asexual spectrum choose to identify as asexual because it is on the asexuality spectrum, but some of them don't. But grey asexuality is part of the sexual end of the asexual spectrum before sexual spectrum begins. And so grey asexuals do experience sexual attraction, but only under limited, rare, or specific circumstances, or they experience it, but not enough to want to act on it. And amongst those are also the demisexuals. The demisexuals cannot experience any sexual attraction unless and until a deep emotional bond has been formed and usually maintained and reciprocated. It doesn't mean to say everyone they have an emotional bond with, they're going to experience that sexual attraction with, but it can happen for them. But until then, they feel like they don't experience any sexual attraction. And then under those 2 categories, you've got loads of different subcategories of asexuals. So it gets to be a bit of a minefield, and there's new subcategories and identities coming up, but there's 2 main categories, if you like, and sub identities within those.
We're also different, so it's really hard to put everybody just under one. There's so many things that are on a spectrum. I have to say, I just recently, or I am taking a course, and it does have to do with sexual energy. And actually, it doesn't really have to do necessarily with another person.
That's
So, but
interesting.
it's just about the spiritual power behind sexual energy, which is the energy of creation, that is more powerful than any other energy we experience.
Yeah, I've heard about that. I don't feel I have sexual energy though myself. I don't feel that way. I feel I can be creative and do amazing things without sexual energy. I mean, I do know of it, I'm aware of it, but I don't necessarily agree with it.
Experience.
Some people believe you can only do certain things if you've got sexual energy. As an asexual who feels I don't have sexual energy myself, I think that's very limiting beliefs. I think the ideology that you can only do certain things if you have sexual energy is very limiting beliefs. Is basically saying if you don't have sexual energy, you can't do things.
No, I don't
And
think it's that though necessarily. I definitely had my first 3 children, and there wasn't a lot of sexual energy going on there. It was just breeding. So I'm here to tell you can even create, lives without having,
yeah,
massive buildup of energy. And maybe I'll even send you some information. You can look into it, and maybe you can even do an episode on it. I don't know. Kind of like, for one, we haven't had parents, our generation anyways, haven't had parents who sat down and talked to us about it. They're definitely not going to tell you that in school, what to feel or what you might not feel, or what you should do if somebody pressures you. There's a lot of that. But women have, for generations and generations, since the beginning of time, it was all about, could you provide a son, right, for our lineage to continue on? You were really kind of like, and if you didn't breed a boy or whatever, or children, they would put you away. That's crazy. But now women today, we have more choice. We're demanding respect. Gone are the days of you just taking my body without my permission, right? And we're speaking up, and we can talk about sex openly. That's not something people did before.
Yeah.
Like I was on an antidepressant for like 7 years. And during that time, I had a hard time having sex. I had a hard time getting into it. I could have just decided not to have sex for the rest of my life. I just had no pleasure. I didn't desire that whatsoever. And I also was a mom and busy, and just had interest in other things. And I think that when I got off the medicine, things changed, my chemicals in my body changed a little bit, and I kind of aligned back up with that sexual energy. But now I'm going towards 50, I'm 47. And now
no way.
Yeah. And, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't, which is one of the reasons why I was curious and kind of taking that course where maybe I could control my own sexual energy, kind of create it more. And so it's one of the reasons why I was interested in taking that course. I think also men go through it too. As they get older, they get more estrogen, we get more testosterone. It's like, what is happening here? And, I just feel like there's some hormonal changes going on with me as I age. And so that's becoming less of a priority.
Right, this is really interesting because since I found out I'm asexual, I understand myself a lot better. So I understand I have kissing needs now. I understand that I have arousal where kissing is concerned, but it doesn't have to have anyone involved with it. I can just think about it for myself. Yeah. I found the guys on dating sites, doesn't matter the age, they are still really horny, including guys who are older. I'm not really interested in guys who are older. Right. I occasionally change my filters for guys who I wouldn't usually be interested in. And I am in dating groups and non-asexual dating groups, as well as other asexual dating groups on Facebook. I run 3 dating groups of my own for asexuals. I'm in other asexual dating groups, but I'm also in non-asexual dating groups. And I've never taken antidepressants. So although I was depressed for a lot of my years, I never took medication for depression, never taken it for anxiety. I've never had it for fibromyalgia. I'm a natural person. A lot of the time I don't like taking meds.
So I have fibromyalgia too. By the way,
do you take meds?
No, I know. I did years, like a decade ago, but then I got off of all of them, and I started doing stuff like meditation, chanting, and other ways to get rid of my pain, which definitely works.
Did you know I got this fibromyalgia self-help handbook? Published this in 2019. So this is basically fibromyalgia self-help handbook, which again is on Amazon. How to manage fibromyalgia to have less pain, more energy, and feel happier like a superhero rock star. And it's told in a superhero style throughout the book. And there's me on the back cover in my Ace Fibro Girl outfit. I don't know if you can see that.
Love that.
So I'm dressed up. Yeah, definitely get
Yeah.
it. It's honestly like a personal development book in disguise.
Nice.
It tells you how to reduce pain in 25 aspects of your life that you can apply to yourself with or without fibromyalgia.
My triggers are stress, period. I mean, the other day I had the most stressful day. I woke up, lost my keys, found them at like 6 o'clock, which is late. And then about an hour or so later, my mom lost her keys and she's at the movie theater with my children, can't come home. I'm like, what is the loss of the keys thing? I mean, it was such a stressful day. And that night, my body hurt all night long. I had restless leg syndrome. I only got like, I think it was like 59 solid minutes of sleep because I tracked my sleep. And because of that awareness, I'm able to know that if I continue to ignore all that, I will just go right back into that fibromyalgia. But really, truly, I've learned to control it, through just tools. And self-love was a huge one because I was giving out everything to everybody else and never to myself. And when you do that, your body will react. And some people are more sensitive than others. And it sounds like you are a very sensitive person.
Yeah.
An empath, maybe, because I know I'm an
definitely.
empath. If someone's talking about like headaches, I get a headache.
I'm empathetic from the point of view, like if an ambulance goes by, I immediately go, I hope everyone's all right. I don't know who it's for or why, but I'm like, I hope everyone's all right,
Yeah, I can tell you're like that. You're so sweet. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, I want to say something about guinea pigs. So with guinea pigs, I can always tell when something's wrong. I feel them, and it's very difficult because all the guinea pigs I had in the past, since leaving home with my parents, have all had things wrong with them. And I bought one guinea pig once, a female, and she was pregnant and meant to be a male, but she was pregnant and had 3 babies. Unfortunately, I don't have any guinea pigs anymore, but in the past, my guinea pigs used to be very randy. So I used to think that the sexual energy I lack, it's all in them. I've had 2 girl guinea pigs like get it on before, as well as a brother and sister, even though they've had the snip and stuff. And they used to be at it, like trying to hump each other all the time and running around the cage after each other. So I feel that my guinea pigs used to make up for the sexual energy that I lacked, and it was all going on them. And I'm like, I'm asexual, but my guinea pigs definitely aren't. They're the exact opposite of me. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, did you know about my guinea pigs?
No. Have you got guinea pigs? I don't have any anymore.
Okay, so my daughter, she loves animals more than she does people. I'll be honest, my youngest. And she's like, I want to go and get a fish. Mom, can I get a fish? And I was like, sure. So we go to the pet store. We're going to get maybe a betta fish, right? I think I'm going to leave, with maybe $30 worth of fish stuff and call it a day. No, we leave with the guinea pig and one guinea pig. The next day, guinea pig is sad. So Kensley tells me, Mom, in Switzerland, it's illegal to buy one guinea pig.
Yeah,
you have to have 2. So here we are. We have 2 guinea pigs and they shit like I've never seen in my life. No animal shits like that. So interesting that you're bringing that up.
My last baby girl, I get really upset talking about it. She died in my arms before Christmas. So yeah, I'm still healing from that. And it was difficult because I had to move home right after she died. I didn't move home then, but I had to look for somewhere else to live because my ex-landlord now sold the place I've been in for years to his son. And I had to quit my full-time job. So I used to do the stuff for asexuals on top of like a job, but now I just devote my time to that. And then I joined Blue Talks in February this year. So I'm speaking for Blue Talks in Oxford in October. I'm in a new chapter in their book with Ken Honda. And so I'm studying obviously more to do with public speaking. I'm getting on more podcasts. And so I really dedicate even more of my time to asexuality, which I did predominantly before, but now I can devote more time to it. I'm always busy doing stuff. I'm always like doing channels and stuff and growing them. So yeah.
Let me ask you, do some asexual people have children or do they desire to have children?
Oh, right. Yeah. So I have to say, I just don't represent every asexual. I'm quite unique. But yeah, there are some asexuals, even in my Asexual Perspectives book, what we were talking about earlier. There's some there that have children already. So in terms of children, some asexuals will have sex just to have children, then never have sex again. Some asexuals don't mind having sex, so they're in relationships having sex. They're sex positive, sex neutral, sex indifferent. They're not bothered one way or the other. Some like it as an activity to do. So some asexuals want kids. They want them by normal means, having sexual intercourse, penetrative vaginal sex, basically. They're fine doing that. Some asexuals are. Some people are asexual and they've had kids already, didn't realize they're asexual. So they come to the asexual community realizing years later they're asexual. They lack sexual attraction, even though they've got children from past relationships. Often it's past relationships because a lot of the time their relationships have broken down because they found out they're asexual and it stopped working, the relationship. And so, but this is not the case for everyone, but you do find that. And then some asexuals will adopt kids because they don't physically want them. They'll do adoption or fostering. Some asexuals will have IVF. Some asexuals want kids, like kids, and they still have the maternal instinct to have kids. I've never had that. Since I was 15, I knew I didn't want kids. I knew I didn't even want to adopt.
But you're obviously very nurturing and caring. I mean,
yes.
So that's different. Okay.
Yes. So I get on well with kids as little beings in their own right. I'm not really into babies, although babies feel very safe in my company because I am very protective, even of myself and other people, my friends. So babies will come and hold my little finger, for example, because they know I'm safe. And kids will automatically come up and start holding my hand. I've had that since being a kid myself. Like,
what is your hope in doing this? I mean, I like I was saying earlier, it kind of seemed like your book was also really speaking to everyone about the things that they need to have, like boundaries. And
so with my Asexual Guide to Sex book that I'm still editing, doing the final edits for, I've been actually spending the last week soundproofing my home to try and make it better for podcasts, which again is to raise awareness of asexuality, everything to do with asexuality. Basically, with my Asexual Guide to Sex book, I see it as a very important book. My ambition for it is to get on 100 podcasts at least. And I believe that it will enable me to help bridge the gap between asexuals and heterosexuals, to help foster more understanding between the different sexualities, so that I can help fulfill my mission of getting asexuality taken seriously by heterosexuals, and to understand that asexuality is a real thing. You know, there's genuinely some people who don't like, want, or need sex, and I see me getting on podcasts to do with dating, relationships, sex podcasts, asexual podcasts, and on YouTube shows and stuff like that. So I see it, my mission as well is to try and get it into bookstores, physical bookstores, which is very difficult to do, I know, but I'm going to try to do that. I'm a registered publisher in the UK anyway. In 2017 I fulfilled that dream of being a registered publisher with Quirky Books. It's my own publishing imprint I use, but I want to get it out to more libraries. I want to get it into more people's hands. I mean, ideally I'd like to get it into counselors' hands, therapists, and I would like to get it spread as much as possible. I've done the Asexual Guide to Sex specifically on purpose to cater kind of for the asexual market, which obviously is predominantly aimed at, but also the sexual market, to help those people who are virgins, who are not experiencing sex, or who are missing the education and, you know, need this advice, help. You know, it can help anyone. I'm just so ambitious about it, you know.
It's even hard for some and most heterosexuals to talk about sex. So you kind of are opening that up too. And like that, because you're just like, it's okay to talk about this stuff and sharing your story. I mean, I used to think that vulnerability was like, oh God, you know, don't share, you know, your weaknesses and your stuff. But I see that it's really what connects everybody collectively.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, because when I'm on my asexual channel, I do share my life journey. So I do talk about my dates and stuff.
Yeah, I loved your show.
Oh, yeah, you were in my chat. Thank you so much.
I loved your channel. It's great.
And I think it's so important to be real and authentic.
Yes.
And you know, like a couple of days later, I will literally say how I'm getting through this difficult emotional time, what I'm doing, how I'm thinking, how I'm using my mindset to get over it and get through it. So asexuals on my channel can always see asexuality on a daily basis in real life context, and how to overcome those daily challenges, including when a date doesn't go the way you want it to, when you feel something for someone, it's not reciprocated, or it just can't happen, and they can go through that pain with me, but I can also inspire them. This is how I got over it. A couple of days later, I'm here again, right? I'm bouncing back. I'm going out again. I'm self-loving, self-dating, taking care of myself, grieving, which is healthy. And so we should be expressing our emotions. We shouldn't be afraid to cry in public. We should be open about that, because repressing and suppressing emotions is what causes things like fibromyalgia, as you probably know.
And did you know that tears from sadness actually have toxins? They are toxic. And the tears from happiness do not have toxins.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So it's your body's way of literally trying to cleanse itself by releasing. But tell everybody where they could find your book, where they could find you. Do you have a website?
Yes, it's asexualise.com is my website. That's spelled asexualise.com. I also have the version with the Z in it as well, because asexualize can be spelled two different ways. Asexualise My Asexual Life is my channel. I've got pages on Facebook as well. I also started an Asexualise dating channel recently. Please check that out. So it's Asexualise My Asexual Life is for my main channel. That's had over 600,000 views. I talk about love, life, dating, relationships from an asexual point of view, and it's like a personal development daily vlog, whatever you want to call it. It's a bit of everything. So I do asexual entertainment, lifestyle, education, information on my main Asexualise My Asexual Life channel. So it shows asexuality in real life context, which I love. I think it's so important to have that rather than just questions and answers about asexuality. It's like, how do I cope in real life? So that's my main channel, which you definitely subscribe to that. And Asexualise Dating, it's Asexualise Dating as a handle on YouTube, but it's also called No BS Dating and Relationship Advice. So that is how I want to be known. Like, I'm telling it like it is, no bullshit, basically, because I'm sick and tired of people bullshitting and playing games. I'm like, no, because I can sense I'm very good at being able to spot abusers and narcissists online now, especially on dating. So that potentially is gonna expand more. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna do more books or courses for that particular part of dating and relationships in the future, but that's something I specialize in quite a lot. I've learned over the years a lot to do with manipulation, narcissistic abuse, and all that type of thing. I'm very clued up on it nowadays. So I do have videos on my Asexualise My Asexual Life channel like that, but I'm very good at spotting them on dating sites. So it's very important, because I think we're only going to get more and more online, so more and more dating is going to happen. So it's really important. So I've only just started on the 2nd of July 2023, and so in the first month I've had over 8,000 views already, so 25 subscribers. For me, I think that's good because the stats are healthy. And I'm also at makemoneymakecash.com and Make Money Make Cash YouTube channel. I'm known as the asexual entrepreneur there, so everything I do is geared towards asexuality. So my book, so I got 2 books out, well, 2 main books. I have 5, but these are the main important ones to me because these are ones that change lives. So this is, my other ones are kind of more technical books. I've written a book about redundancy as well, but these are my 2 top ones. So this one is Asexual Perspectives, 47 asexual stories, love, life and sex, a celebration of asexual diversity. But if you type in Asexual Perspectives, it usually comes up. It's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Waterstones, Blackwell's, Walmart websites, and can be ordered from any good bookshop.
Awesome.
So you can walk in and all that. And then Fibromyalgia Self-Help Handbook, how to manage fibromyalgia to have less pain, more energy, feel happier like a superhero rock star. It's really good. I mentioned asexuality in here as well. So this is available on Amazon. It's available Barnes and Noble, Blackwell's and Walmart. So and you can order it from good bookshops as well. So and see me in my Ace Fiber Guide. Ace, by the way, is the slang or nickname for asexual, in case you didn't know that.
Okay.
So thank you so much.
Yes, whatever this energy is, sexual or not, it's amazing. So thank you so much for what you're doing and for just being you and putting it out there.
Thank you, Shanna. It's been really amazing experience talking to you. I've loved it. You're a nice interviewer as well. You're really good.
It was super fun.
Really
being in my space.
Oh, I love being in your space. You've got a lovely personality and you've got a gorgeous voice, got like a velvety voice.
Well, thanks, Sandra.
Thank you so much. Sending you lots of love.
Thanks for listening to Sense of Soul podcast, and thanks to our special guests for joining me. If you want more of Sense of Soul, check out my website at www.mysenseofsoul.com, where you can work with me one-on-one or help support Sense of Soul podcast by donating to my coffee fund. Thanks for listening.